Hello, everyone. Welcome to Jamaica 411. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm your host, Michelle Stern. Well, my viewers and my subscribers, welcome back. Hope you had a wonderful weekend holiday. And I'm not sure if you know of all the excitement that's been going along, but you would have heard the Integrity Commission's name and the Prime Minister's name called in the same sentence on Thursday. And on Friday, which is a big public holiday, the second affidavit by Craig Beresford, made its rounds in WhatsApp. And we have no clue who would have put that out, but it would appear that it is an attempt to scandalize the Prime Minister. The thing is, though, I am not quite sure if they had succeeded. Matter of fact, this is an exoneration, in my view, of Holness, but only in certain circumstances. In the affidavit, the most relevant parts began, in my view, where Beresford sought to explain how his department works. And what he's saying here, that his department, the Information and Complaints Division of the Integrity Commission, has a committee. He said here, the Information and Complaints Committee is established pursuant to Section 25 of the Act, that's the Integrity Commission Act, and I report to them subject to Section 33 of the Act. So, in the Integrity Commission, these directors don't just get up and make decisions on their own. There is a committee that comprises certain members of the commission, and it is to that committee and those commissioners that the various directors report to. In this case, who were those commissioners who sat on the Information and Complaints Committee that Craig Beresford reported to? Well, let's find out. Since the period in which he's speaking about is the 2020 to 2022 period, we're looking here at the Integrity Commission's annual report of 2021 to 2022. And on that Information and Complaints Committee sat Mrs. Pamela Monroe Ellis, who is the Auditor General. She was the chairman of the committee. Then you have the Honorable Mr. Justice Seymour Panton. He was a member, and so too was Eric Crawford, who is another chartered accountant coming from the private sector. He was a member too. So these were the persons who Craig Beresford reported to. And he's going to explain to us now how they actually work. Now, he says once all the relevant information is received, and the relevant information would be the assets, liabilities, and the income of the declarant. So once all the relevant information is received, a financial analysis is undertaken, and a meeting is convened with the Information and Complaints Committee to consider the information and the results of the financial analysis and to decide whether to make a recommendation for certification or to submit the report of the findings to the commission. So, what he's saying here, and I don't know if this is what they do routinely with every single statutory declaration that they examine, but what he's saying here is that once he has completed his examination of a statutory declaration and he asks for the information that he needs, if any, and that is complete, a financial analysis is then done to determine whether or not, for argument's sake, whether their assets is disproportionate to their lawful income or some such thing. Once that analysis is done, he then meets with this committee of Pamela Monroe Ellis, Justice Panton, and Eric Crawford, and they together determine what's to be done. Whether or not the information is there and complete, then a recommendation will be made to the commission to certify. And if there's anything in there that they find requires further investigation, then they would recommend that the matter be referred to the investigator, is what I understand is to be saying. You hear what I'm saying? In the matter of statutory declarations for Mr. Holness, the investigation resulted in a report in relation to the statutory declaration of the Most Honorable Andrew Holness by the then acting directors of investigation and of information and complaints in 2019. And that is in Exhibit CB1, which includes copies of the letters and that report. So we are going to go now post haste to that report, because this now would be the first time we'll be hearing about the source of funding for ADMAT and the buying of the property in Beverly Hills and Waycliffe and all the other properties that he owned. We're anxious to hear about that, because remember, the report that was tabled in the Parliament only started with his 2021 declarations and never went back. But he's telling us that in 2019, there was a referral that was made to the Integrity Commission at that time by the two persons who were acting in the position before Craig Beresford and Kevon Stevenson came on the scene. So they had made a referral. January 25, 2019, the commissioners looked at the referral and agreed that it should be investigated. And now we're going to look at that report. So it's addressed to the chairman and members of the Integrity Commission, and it began by saying, "Dear Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission, re-examination of statutory declarations. The Most Honorable Andrew Holness, ON MP." And it began by saying, A review was conducted on statutory declarations submitted by Mr. Holness since he became a parliamentarian in 1998. This body that was just set up with two acting persons writing to the commissioners and saying, a review was conducted on statutory declarations submitted by Mr. Holness since he became a parliamentarian in 1998. And this was 2019. You're talking about 18 years. Them gone back in history. And them are going to look on statutory declaration all the way back to 1998. That's what this is saying. The scope of the review covered statutory declarations for the period June 1998 to February 25, 2016. 18 years. Anyway, let's not get excited. Let's read on. The objective of this exercise was to determine whether information entered on statutory declarations was a true representation of the assets and liabilities of the declarant, and that his net worth, when calculated, was commensurate with the income stated. After carefully reviewing and formulating an opinion on the facts as they presented themselves from our investigation, it was observed that his assets increased substantially over the years, and especially over the period 2009 and 2012. Now, I am wondering to myself, these Johnny come lately in 2019, never occurred to them that the previous Integrity Commission would have looked into it already? So they see the massive jump and evidently didn't think that the previous commissions were competent people and they go and look into it themselves, right? So they said that they carefully reviewed and formulated an opinion on the facts as they presented themselves from our investigation. It was observed that his assets increased substantially over the years and especially over the period 2009 and 2012. Some other areas of concern were identified and required further investigations or clarification. Letters were subsequently submitted to Mr. Holness seeking clarification on varying issues. So you notice that these persons who were acting in the position, they saw something funny and they didn't just recommend investigation. They asked him first, all right, we have these concerns. You have anything you want to say about them? That to me is the way to go, because there may well be an explanation and you would want to run and go to investigation only to find out when the investigation commenced that there was an explanation you would have gotten. And instead you have the investigator wasting time. Yes, so they did the right thing. They wrote to him and asked him for clarification of what it was that they had concerns about. The responses received, however, were not sufficient to adequately satisfy the concerns that were raised. All right. Yes, that's how you go about it. If you're not satisfied with the answer that you get, having given the person, the declarant, an opportunity to explain, and you still don't get the information that you need, then what do you do? According to them, in May 2018, under the new Integrity Commission, another letter was sent to Mr. Holness advising that the Commission awaits a response to its letter dated October 5, 2017. Wow. He was asked to respond by June 22, 2018. Now, there seems to be a little something here because they said they got responses and now they're saying that they didn't get any response. So apparently maybe there was another letter that was written in after they got that initial response. The letter to the commissioners went on to say, on August 29, 2018, he submitted a letter seeking additional time within which to respond. The commission acceded to his request and he was granted additional time to October 15, 2018, in which to reply. In December 2018, another letter was sent to the Prime Minister Holness, advising him that to date we have not received a response, although he had promised to have this prepared and delivered by October 15, 2018. To date, no other response has been received. This matter is being referred to the Commission for further action pursuant to Section 42(4) of the Integrity Commission Act 2017, and the Acting Director of Information and Complaints was a lady called Joy Powell. So that is where that is concerned. They gave him time to go and look up the information from 18 years before and respond to them. And they were surprised that he was not able to provide them with information. In any event, they gave him enough time and they are now going to conduct an investigation. So, having referred the matter to the Acting Director of Investigation, a report in relation to the statutory declarations of the Most Honorable Andrew Holness was completed in the same year. These guys were quick and fast. And so we're going to go through the report. But before we do, have you all given the video a thumbs up? Well, I know you find this very interesting, so please give the video a thumbs up and share as well. And I appreciate it. And thank you. So let us now continue. So this is the report now into the very first referral that was made for investigation into Andrew Holness's statutory declarations in 2019. So they're giving the background. Mr. Holness entered representational politics in 1998 and commenced filing statutory declarations in accordance with the Parliament Integrity of Members Act. Over the years, upon examination of his statutory declarations, net worth statements were prepared. The changes in Mr. Holness's net worth over the years were closely monitored, and these statements were presented to the then Integrity Commission for review. Based on the information the Commission received at the time, all the net worth statements reviewed up to year 2011 were cleared by the Commission. So what this basically is saying is the Commission had received some amount of information, and based on the information that they received, they had cleared Holness. That's what they're saying. Consequently, an inordinate increase in wealth was identified, and as a result, a special investigation was considered. This commenced and was conducted by an external investigator based on what the investigations gleaned, which encompassed the declaration years 2005 to 2016. A detailed report seeking his comments or response was sent to Mr. Holness in October of 2017. So wait, so long them take to find out that he had an inordinate increase in his assets? Anyhow, let's read. Up to February 21, 2018, the Commission was not satisfied with the response they had received. Hence, the matter was brought to the attention of the new Integrity Commission, where it was referred to the Director of Investigation. With respect to the 2017 annual report of the former Integrity Commission, mention was made that Mr. Holness's declaration was not cleared. This is due to the fact that not all the bills supporting payables of approximately $20.3 million, which are in respect of the construction of his house at Lot 202 Shenstone Drive, were presented. That's the Beverly Hills house they were constructing at the time. To date, the remaining bills to support the total amount has still not been submitted. In Mr. Holness's 2018 statutory declaration, he mentioned that he is still reconciling this amount. On May 21, 2019, a letter was sent to Mr. Holness advising him of the outstanding matter and asking that he respond by June 25, 2019. Then there's an overview of Omega Bridge Finance Limited and noted as comprising 7 pages with attachments, documents labeled appendices 1 to 22. So eventually Holness was able to gather that information, 20-year-old information. So this is a warning to all parliamentarians and all persons who work with government who are required to submit statutory declarations. Do not fling away una receipt, because they may give a certification now and then decide that they're going to take it back and investigate every single statutory declaration if you have left something out from the beginning, or they suspect that you did, in which event your statutory declarations would not have been correct and complete. That's the reason why they would go back. I don't know what would have happened if you could not find that information, but as it is, it appears that he did. So based on their investigations, they came up with some findings, and we're going to read what that is. Further to the Integrity Commission's letter dated October 5, 2017, make a note of that, please. Please do. And subsequent reminders, Mr. Andrew Holness provided responses to the Commission's queries in a 36-page financial journal, including attachments detailing business activities, investments, and liabilities. His explanations disclosed multiple businesses and accompanying investments, assets, and income which were not previously declared. The financial journal dates back to 1998 when Mr. Holness was first elected as a member of parliament and covers the period to 2018. The documents as presented were accepted as being additional records and explanations supplied by the Prime Minister and form the basis upon which we shall form our conclusion. Let's read that again. The documents as presented were accepted as being additional records and explanations supplied by the Prime Minister and form the basis upon which we shall form our conclusions. So they are saying that what he submitted, they accepted it, which would suggest that they had done the checks and found the information to be true. So I'm going to give you a quick summary of what happened next. Holness, as it turned out, there were 4 companies that he was involved in that was not declared at the time. So his statutory declarations were not accurate. The 4 companies, one of them, Premium Group Limited, he was the assistant of Eddie Siaga until September 2000. That was not declared, nor was the salary he received declared. Then there was the Sunshine Mobile Company Limited, where he had some 4 taxis that was contracted to them. He then registered another business called the Leader Taxi Service with his wife, Juliet Holness. She was a major shareholder, and she was a major shareholder with 2 other of his constituency executive members. And that company owned anywhere between 7 and 14 cars and 2 buses, and they also had a contract with Sunshine as well. Now, he also owned a loans company, a small loans company called Omega Bridge Finance, and it's a company that he used to lend monies to his friends and families, people that he knew. Now, Sunshine at the time was owned by a man called Bob Buchanan, and he agreed to purchase Sunshine from him. And the agreed price was 1.4 million, and he would have paid the money off every week, 15,000 per week until complete, and he would take over and manage the business, which he eventually did January of 2001. Now, the business was never really transferred to him because before he could complete the purchase, Bob Buchanan died. So he had that company nonetheless, and he eventually sold them in 2005, both taxi companies, and the monies that he received from the proceeds, in one instance 4.5 million, in the next instance 3.5 million, which is a total of 8 million. He then invested that in the loans business. Eventually, he decided to wind that up as well. And at the time when he wound it up, he would have recovered from it $12 million that were loaned out, and that represented 70% of the loan portfolio. So this is cash money now that Holness had. And the question is, what next? What should he do with this money? What should he invest in next? And my people, you're going to be very, very surprised indeed to know what Holness did with that $12 million that he had in 2005. And this is where it gets exciting. Investments in Cash Plus. Who remember Cash Plus? Mass Andra, them things that are going with. When the whole we are run from it and said this is that and the other. You had your money in it. You're a brave man. And let us see if you prospered from it or you lost, as so many other persons did. And not to lose meant you would have had to ensure that you were taking out your monthly deposits, or you would have taken it out at some point and make sure you recover your principal and a substantial amount of the interest that they were paying. That's how you survive. For those persons who were greedy, who had it rolling over, and then here so them put in $1 million, and then them now own $14 million and think it going go to 28 million and uno lose. So let us read what it says here. Mr. Holness indicated that he commenced placing deposits in alternate investments in Cash Plus in early 2005. Now, as I asked before, who remember Cash Plus? These were pyramid schemes that would take deposits from people as investment, I'm sure, and offer them 10% every month in interest. So whereas the banks may offer you, and were offering at the time, say for argument's sake, 10% per annum, they were offering 10% per month, which means that you would receive at least 120% per year on your investment with them. Pyramid scheme, and a lot of people fell for it. A lot of people lost the money, but the few wise ones went in and took the money out. And let us see if Holness was one of them or not. He could not recall the amount of the original investment, but he invested $2 million in May 2006, which was encashed from a First Global Bank certificate of deposit. At June 30, 2006, the balance in the Cash Plus account was $4.6 million, which Mr. Holness said meant that approximately $2.2 million was in the account prior to the $2 million deposit. So the year before, when he said he put money in the Cash Plus, it was $2.2 million, and then of course it doubled. Every 10 months in that scheme, every 10 months your money double, right? And that's what he got, doubling of his money. Now it says, according to Mr. Holness, the initial and subsequent deposits were derived from funds recovered from the proceeds of assets sold in his dissolved businesses, of which we have already noted, and he stated was to support constituency activities, which was rejected. Of course, that would be so. He noted that he made his first investment in Cash Plus in 2005 and continued holding this account until 2007. So now we have some information we can go on and some numbers we can work with. In 2005, he had $2.2 million in Cash Plus. And remember, they are paying 10% per year, which means that every 10 months your money double. And he did not take that money out until 2007. So in 2006, June, his money was at 4.6 million. That is what is going to double, which means that by the end of 2007, or whenever it took it out, it would be something in the order of $9.2 million. So that $2.2 million within 2 years became $9.2 million. Then he had declared that he had made some personal loans to his friends and family members and so on. And here we are again at number 9, Olint Investments. It is noted that on the commission's file that a query was raised previously and statements were seen for 2005 and 2006 in relation to investments made. Well, he put some of that $12 million in Olint at the same term, 10% per annum, which means that his money, if he keeps it there for a while, will be turning over at a rate of 120% per annum, which means that every 10 months, his money would be doubling. So there were quite a number of questions asked, and Holness gave explanation. I won't read all of them because it's long. It says, source of funds invested in Olint investments, in particular deposits totaling 316,000 US dollars and 113,000 US dollars in 2006 and 2007. And he gave the explanation that he commenced investments in Olint in mid 2005, totaling 36,000 US dollars or 2.3 million Jamaican, derived from the proceeds of loan collection from the Omega Bridge financing. So remember, he had recovered $12 million that he had loaned. And he's saying that he took $2 million of that and bought into Olint in mid 2005. He then went on to say the sale of assets from Sunshine Mobile Company Limited and interest withdrawn from Cash Plus Limited and so on. And there you go. So that's where he said he would have got this $316,000 and $113,000. So he had converted all of that money into US dollars. So people, you see where the man got his money from. He invested in the pyramid schemes and he did so early, kept the money in there long enough for it to grow, in one case double. And then he had sold this company, the financing company, where he loaned money and recovered 12 million out of the amount that he had loaned to people. He sold 2 taxi companies and recovered some money as well. And what did he do with that money? He invested a portion of it in the 2 pyramid schemes, Cash Plus and Olint. And you will read later that he had up to $23 million in one of them. Now, in the right-hand corner, you see deposits. Those are the breakout of the amount that he deposits each time. So you have 15,000 one time, then 20,000, then 36,000. These are all US dollars. So you can pause the video and read what he says next. Here it's saying he put 93,000 US dollars in Olint in April 2007, and then he made a withdrawal of 33,000 US, and again another withdrawal of 117,000 US dollars, which he deposited in his BNS US dollar account. Here again, he made another withdrawal of $150,000, and that was done December of 2007. And this one he had deposited into a Bank of America savings account. And again, he withdrew 350,000 US dollars. You see how much money he make? And he was not keeping it there. This time in March 2008. So he withdrew that money now and deposited where? What did he do with it? It says Mr. Holness explained that $350,000 was withdrawn in March 2008 and used with previous withdrawals to acquire new properties. So there you have it, people. And I know my labor right friend them, this a skip and a dance and a jump. And the comrades, so and so, but the risers, yeah man, them down in the dumps. Yes. So you all see now where the man got his money from. It was incredible that we saw the monies that he was getting. In a year, him spend 400 and some thousand. And in a year, him get back 400 and some thousand. Them that thing don't look normal. Now we know why. He had liquidated his assets. So he'll have the cash to put a portion of it into these pyramid schemes. And they paid off. But he was not the only one. You had other big names too. As a matter of fact, there was a leak of the Olint's files. And I seem to recall seeing Daring Bunting and Golding there. It was Peter Bunting who was investing. But what he did, like so many other smart people, was him left the principal, but him keep drawing out the deposit, knowing that after 10 months, he's in plus. And if him keep the money there long enough, like a year, and it not collapse, then the money would double every 10 months. And these schemes, I think, went on for about 6 years. So for those persons who caught it early, you can imagine how them beard. Then came the next query. It's to do with a company called Panadian, which he also did not declare he had an interest in. It says, A, amount invested in acquisition and source of funding. So they wanted to know how much he paid for this asset and what was his source of funding. And it says 2003 LUHRS 360SX Express Sport Fishing Vessel. No man, Massandra run real hustler, no man. Every little thing him put him finger in where him see an opportunity. And it says, secondly, they wanted documentary evidence supporting the transfer of shares and the other shareholders that are in this purchase of this vessel. And it went on to say in his explanation, Mr. Holness explained in his financial journal that the company Panadian Limited was registered to facilitate the acquisition of the boat. So they want to buy a boat and they're going to set up this company, and he'll explain why. When the opportunity arose in 2008 to acquire the boat, the agreed sale price was 220,000 US dollars and was to be borne equally by the three shareholders, Andrew Holness, Ian Moore, and Paul East of the company. He noted that the purchase was to be financed by internal transfers among Olint account holders. Mr. Moore initiated the purchase and transferred the amount to the vendor. Mr. Holness said he paid 40,000 US dollars from his Olint account to Mr. Moore. No additional amount was paid over as Olint collapsed shortly thereafter. So he may have lost some money in it. We're not quite sure, but it could be that he just decided I'm not paid because Olin collapsed and that was where the money was coming from, or maybe he was not prepared to use any other money into this business. Anyway, Mr. Holness said he transferred his shareholdings and resigned as director as per his letter dated September 30, 2014 to the remaining shareholders or directors. So that's that. So we know that Olint had collapsed around about this time, 2008. So not long after he started his investments. As to whether he got caught and lost some money, that we don't know. But we certainly see where he was drawing out a lot of money and buying up properties, apparently. And that would have been what saved him from losing his shirt and everything with it. This now is query number 3. The third question they asked him was about ADMAT Incorporated properties, and they wanted to know the source of funding, where the money come from. As if they didn't know by now, right? So let's read what the explanation was. This property was acquired on September 15, 2008 for $16 million as per certificate of title. Mr. Hollis explains that this and other properties acquired under ADMAT's name during that period were acquired using funds withdrawn from Olint, including 350,000 US dollars. You remember that one? That was the last transaction. That's the last notification we had of him drawing money out, apart from that 40,000 to buy the boat. Other amounts encashed from Olint investments in late 2007, discretionary income and income from property rental. Of note, he disclosed in footnote 25 on page 20 of the Financial Journal that he did not declare rental income from this apartment between February 2008 and 2012. Folks, it was a lot of adjustments he had to make to all of these statutory declarations. He would have had to amend them and add in what it was that he left out. And my, that must have been some task. So the first one I read for you was about the apartment 11 of 4 Arcadia Drive. 60 million he paid for it, and the money came from Olint out of that 350,000 US dollars he had withdrawn. Then now comes the property at Lot 56, Wycliffe Close in Beverly Hills. He paid $15,275,000. It says, for the source of income, the property was acquired on February 3, 2009 for $15.2 million as per a certificate of title. Mr. Holness explained that this and other properties acquired under the ADMAT name and during that period were acquired using funds withdrawn from Olint, including $350,000 US and other amounts encashed in late 2007, discretionary income, and income from property rental. So now we know the source of the income of those two lands, and we never knew them before. And let me pause here for a moment to thank whoever it was that put this information out. Based upon the extract that they took out of the document, I suspect it was the risers who put it out. But I want to thank them. It looked like they never read it, because if they had read it, they would never have thought to put this information out so that we can now know where Holness got his money from to buy up these properties. We saw the monies going in, we saw the monies going out. We know it's the Olint and Cash Plus, and we know what interest rate they were paying, 10% on your money. And we know by calculation that if you keep your money there long enough, it will double after every 10 months. Here it is now. He's speaking about the purchase of the Shenstone property. That is the one where he has his house now. And they're asking, what's the source of income? Well, he said he paid 300,000 US dollars for it. That is really on the title. And he said, according to Mr. Holness, this property was acquired in 2011 for 300,000 US dollars using cash investments with Stocks and Securities Limited and JMB totaling $28.3 million at December 2010. Accounts held with SSL totaled 342,000 US dollars and with JMB totaling 94,000 US dollars. And Mr. Holness' financial journal responses only provided detailed explanation for the initial expenses totaling 11.3 million related to the construction of a home on this property. The Commission's October 5, 2017 letter generally asks for an explanation of the source of funds used for development costs associated with the construction of that house. At December 2017, as per statutory declaration, development costs associated with this project total 67.9 million. The December 2017 statutory declaration also listed liabilities to suppliers stood at $20 million and a Scotia mortgage $10 million related to this property. In the financial journal, Mr. Holness explained that it was convenient to purchase building material for this property through his wife's company, JAJ, and as a result incurred a balance of 18.2 million on suppliers' accounts. So it would appear that having bought all of them properties now, the wallet money and the cash flows money done. So he had to find other means of financing the building of the house. Either that, or he chose not to use up any more of his cash and instead start to borrow. But rather than borrow by way of mortgage, which is one rigmarole and might cost plenty, in terms of interest, he decided to go the way of borrowing from the suppliers, or what we would say in Jamaica popularly, he went and trust the building material then from the suppliers. Now, this particular property that they bought at 23 Hill Road, which is part of Lot 26 Norbrook Heights, the description of the property is Lot 1526 Norbrook Heights. There is some controversy in terms of the price. They are saying that this price of $3 million was too low. It is conceivable and very possible that this was a vacant lot that they had purchased and not an apartment. And this was one of the properties as well that he did not declare until February 25, 2016 in that statutory declaration. And in his financial journal, he explained that the property was purchased in Admat's name, but it was purchased for his sister. He paid a deposit of $700,000 and she would have made the other payments. Now, it said it took a little while to pay. So I'm suspecting that what happened here was that they may have bought the property when it was in its development stages and usually get it cheaper. And you will also pay for that property in stages, 25% deposit at this point, and then another 3 months or another 6 months or another year until it's paid. But he said that that property was transferred to ADMAT in 2012. Don't know why he decided to do it this way. He must have his reasons, and it was only one property was purchased. So this is a duplication you're looking at here. Now they've completed the real estate properties. They are now asking about the stocks and the securities that was owned by ADMAT and wanted to know the source of the income. So the first stocks and securities, the 100,000 US dollars he purchased in 2007, and then there's an $8,125 in 2008. What's the source of income for those purchases? Mr. Holness explained that this amount was invested in November 2007 from amounts encashed from Olint, and that amount is 117,000 US dollars. So he took $108,000 US out of that to buy these stocks and securities. Then at the end of December, he had 192,000 in stocks and securities. What's the source of that fund? Well, he said that the balance as at December 2009 was in fact 293,000 US dollars and not 193,000, because it said it included the initial investment of 100,000 US and had a market value in 2009 of 92,000 US. He said that this 193,000 including coupon, which is like an interest rate of 16,000. That was what he earned on the investment. The 193,000 US dollars also include the proceeds from the sale of a 2005 BMW, which was sold for $3 million. Income from property rental, 1.6 million. And then he said there were loan and advances recovered, $11 million, and discretionary income. So that is what he said made up that 193,000 US dollars. It appears as though this is the source of the income to buy those stocks and securities. So he had bought some stocks for 100,000, 193,000, and here's another one, 342,000. Remember, he had told the gleaner way back in 2008 that he had encashed some of his assets in order to go play the stock market. He found it profitable, I suppose, to invest in the stock market and buy shares. So that was the game now that he was playing, because he's moving from the pyramid scheme and he's now going into another scheme that if he got it right, he can make a bundle of money as well. The man was hustling, and evidently he has the Midas touch. Everything he touched turns to gold. He made some small investments too. Well, let's talk about that 342,000 because it's so big. Mr. Holness explained that this represented a rollover of previous investments in Government of Jamaica bonds, repos and stocks and interest earned. He indicated that the repos grew by $44,000, of which a portion was interest. He did not specify any other source of funding. Additionally, in 2010, $1.3 million was withdrawn from this account and loaned to Mr. Paul East. And then he bought some stocks with 7,000 US dollars and some US dollar bond with 54,000 US dollars from JMMB. So there you have it so far. Let's see what else of interest is there for us to learn. Are you finding this interesting? Are you finding all of this interesting? Let me know in the comment section, please, because I'm going to end it when I'm finished this report and then come back later on or maybe tomorrow with more information for you. Now, remember, not all of the money he had liquidated when he sold the businesses and his motor vehicles were put in Olint and Cash Plus. there was some that was put elsewhere. And in this case, he had some money put in Scotia Mutual Fund, 25,000 US dollars, and that came from the proceeds of the business assets, $10,000, and he made other arrangements. Then you have the Bank of America, $158,000, and that was another of the accounts he did not declare, but the source of funding came from Olint, that $150,000. Then you have the GMMB investment, source of income, funding from the Olint, $350,000 that he had encashed. The First Global Equity Market, that source of income, he said was from he said some stocks purchased in 2004, but I think he said he never bought anything in 2004, so that's some confusion. As for the GMMB benchmark note and euro bond and so on, there appears to be a dreadful mistake. It seems as if the value was actually either US $195.43 or it was $321,668 US dollars. I don't know which, but apparently some mistake was made. And those figures in the column are not correct. And here's another purchase of 94,000 US dollars of stocks and securities in the name of ADMAT. And the source of income was the proceeds from the sale of his Mercedes Benz, rental income, and he had collected the $11 million owed to him from the loan company, and so on. And then there was a fourth query asking for the source of fund for the other bank and investment accounts. There were two BNS accounts, one US, one Jamaican, and a First Global Financial Services account. And that's a US account as well. So the BNS account was to receive his salary. The second BNS account, the US dollar one, that was with $118,000. That money came from Olint. And the first global account was Holness putting $90,000 on a repurchase agreement. And the source of the income was the proceeds from the sale of his taxi business, the collection of the monies from Omega, and monies he had encashed from Olint as well. And the last question in that letter that was sent October 5, 2017 is, it says here, ownership, sources of fund, and the proceeds of assets held by Mr. Holness's spouse, Juliet Holness. And Andrew Holness's response by and by was that he and his wife kept separate accounts. He has no idea more than so about what she's doing, and therefore he can't provide them with that information. So those were the properties and stocks and bonds and accounts that Holness had not declared over the years, which he did. And boy, I'm telling you, it's just as well. Boy, this man lucky. I don't know this man lucky, so you know, because if he had not done so, we would not have been able to see all this, and they would be calling him thief, and the evidence would not show itself years later that he had actually gotten his money from investing in Olint and Cash Plus, as well as had businesses that he wound up sold and was able to. From the two taxi businesses, he recovered $8 million, and he had recovered $12 million from the loan business. And this was the money that he used initially, a portion of it, to put in Cash Plus, made that money roll over. And also he put some of it in Olint. And that was how the man's income was rising so exponentially between 2006 and 2009. I know my Labour Party friends are quite pleased to hear this, because I'm sure they thought the risers had him by the scruff of the neck. But again, he escapes. Yes. What a good thing they put out this E. I am telling you folks, I don't know is who obey them risers, but smarty obey them. And boy, them salt. But in as much as Mas Andrew escaped this time, it not finished yet. As a matter of fact, there's more drama to come. So tune into my next video, please. Anyway, folks, that's it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me, for sharing, liking, subscribing, and leaving your comments in the comments section. Until next time, take very good care of yourselves and walk good.